Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Join the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back to another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I am your host, Ken. Joining me in studio, as always, it's Padawan J.
I just want it known, I've already put in my waiver wire claim for that cat from last night's Monday Night Football game.
Ah, damn it. You beat me to it.
Yes.
The biggest free agency in all of fantasy football claimed.
I'll say, is Drew Rosenhaus representing that cat yet? Because if he's not, he needs to get on the phone.
We're going to definitely find out in a little bit, but we have to introduce who else is joining us in the studio. It is your coach. It is my coach. It is the coach, Coach Duffy.
Guys, it's good to be back. Had to recharge my batteries after that absolute debacle on Saturday Night Football with Notre Dame. Travis Shamockery is the best way to describe that game. So I had to recharge. I had to lay low for a week, and then they come back with a win, against Virginia Tech. So all things are well in the Duffy household. Things are back to even keel, and my loved ones don't need to be in fear anymore.
Well, so it's like college football. No, I think I saw something while I was at the gym today. Doesn't the top 25 or whatever playoff ranking come out tonight? Something like that?
Yeah, it might be tonight. If not, I think normally it's a Sunday show.
I want to say within the next week, the college football rankings.
It is soon. It's week 12, so week 11.
About that time.
Soon.
About that time.
After Florida losing, I just kind of didn't pay attention. I'm not gonna lie.
It's been rough. I mean, that Michigan game, I plopped on my couch and was just like, the way Baker Mayfield looks was how I felt that night.
So you shaved your beard like 3 different times.
I just looked like a man defeated who, looks like he just had an affair, who was caught and now divorced and not allowed to see his kids. That's how I looked on Saturday night. It was rough.
Okay.
Wow.
Rough.
We're going to get into that and a little bit more of the sports world, so definitely join in the conversation on social media. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. Join in the conversation, but let's kick it off like we always do during football season. It's time to go over the locks and leaps. Pad, why don't you start us off?
Sure, I'll start with my lock. I decided to get a little spooky with the lock, if you will. I chose the game that was going on Halloween, the San Francisco 49ers against the Arizona Cardinals. San Francisco is favored to win. They won, however, they did not cover the spread. They won by the final score of 28-25. If I'm not mistaken, the spread was by 10 points, if I'm not mistaken. Jimmy Garoppolo, 28 of 37 for 317 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kyler Murray, 17 of 24 for 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Coach, your thoughts?
I was really surprised to see Arizona offensively be able to hang in this game, given the fact that San Francisco's defense had been playing so well. And the biggest thing, I think, is with Arizona, a lot was going in with Kingsbury becoming the head coach, with his track record of being a college coach, of not running the ball often or at all, really, and using mostly just screen passes in order to get a quote-unquote run game going.
Right.
So, we all kind of thought going into the year, he has to run the ball in the NFL. You cannot not do it. But we all were like, will he or won't he?
Right.
And it's good to see that he is sticking to the run game. And, obviously getting Drake from Miami at the trade deadline, 15 carries, not necessarily committing to the run, but, enough that he got 110 yards and a TD and played well.
A lot of happy fantasy owners.
Yeah, and the week before, and when they played the Giants, they had 20. It was a rainy day, so that kind of, deviates from the average, but they ran it 20-plus times. So it's he's sticking to the run, and it's working for them. And for them to put up 25 on this very good 49ers defense, arguably either the best or second best defense right now in the NFL, things are working in Arizona.
I'll say I'm definitely surprised at how well Arizona's offense played, given how much is praised and said about the San Francisco defense. Because, like you said, they're one of, if not the best defenses in the NFL right now, depending on who you talk to. But you look at the stats; they only got they hit Kyler Murray for 3 sacks, which that's pretty good, but it's not stellar or anything. And then you look at the turnovers, no turnovers.
That's huge.
Which is very surprising. So, not necessarily, the sky is falling, the San Francisco defense is falling apart. It might have just been an off night, but who knows?
No, it's a Thursday night, short week. It's tough.
Yeah.
The one thing you have to realize with Arizona is they're going to scrap with everybody.
Yeah.
Statistically, they're not the best team. And obviously, David Johnson not being on that roster hurts them. Kenyon Drake is a huge addition. And he He looked the part.
Helping. The other thing I should mention, 4 catches for 52 yards.
Yeah, I mean,
so working both sides.
It worked, especially the fact that Johnson's going to be out for the foreseeable future, and
Right.
Edmonds was out as well. So I
Right.
mean, they made a move that they needed to make, and we'll see how it pays off as the year goes on, because I do believe Johnson's not on IR. So I
don't
think
think
he's
so.
set to come
Not
back.
as the last I read.
Yeah, and Edmonds is also going to come back eventually here too. So I mean, that's going to be a loaded backfield. That
Right.
when you're only given 15 carries a game to your main guy, it'll be interesting to see how he use all 3 backs.
Yeah.
But with the Niners, though, who have arguably the most deceptively good defense in all the NFL, because it's not flashy. I mean, Richard Sherman's there. Bosa's having a great year, which nobody's talking about.
Bosa's just going to rip you apart.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he has really elevated his game up recently. And to flip it over the other side of the ball, nobody on the 49ers offense really scares you. Jimmy G is Jimmy G.
Yeah.
He game manages better than anybody.
Right.
But he's not going to win a shootout with any team per se.
Right. I mean, you look at their running game. They've got Matt Breida was their leading rusher during this game. He had 78 yards. Tevin Coleman had 23 yards. And then you flip to the receiving core. Yeah, he's got Emmanuel Sanders there. And Emmanuel Sanders had 7 catches for 112 yards, 1 touchdown. Good. George Kittle, 6 catches for 79 yards, 1 touchdown. And Deebo Samuel. So it's good, but it's not anything that like, oh, God, we're going up against this receiving core.
I just think it's what Shanahan does offensively.
Yeah.
I just think it's all, scheme, and it's all making the right calls at the right time. And, I mean, obviously Jimmy G has something to do with that, because you got to think that Garoppolo has the freedom to go up to the line to check things that he sees. You would think, I mean, unfortunately, we don't get to see a ton of Chicago or San Francisco games being on the East Coast. So, this was one of the few games that you get to see them being on national TV. But, yeah, I mean, you got to think that they have trust in each other, that they're going to make the right decisions on the field. And Shanahan just devises schemes, good game plans that get guys in opportunities to get open.
Right.
Yeah, and it works in his favor, too. I mean, Sanders coming over from Denver was a huge addition.
That was a good trade. That was a very, very sly, good move.
And it almost gives him a number 1 option. Almost. I mean,
Almost.
Kittle has not been putting up a ton of numbers, but he's definitely an impact player on the field.
Well, I just think the Sanders thing just helps give them somebody the ability to stretch the field. Because, I mean, Samuel is going to be a good wide receiver. I mean, he was a good wide receiver in Clemson and played very well there, and has good size and everything. So I think having Sanders on the opposite side of him is only going to help his opportunities as he can stretch the field and get him underneath.
And they're doing enough to win. They're not blowing any teams out per se. I mean, they have had a couple games where they really put on some points. But against a division rival such as Arizona, they're going to scrap. Mm-hmm. And this was a good win for San Francisco moving forward. Now, the lone undefeated team in all the NFL.
Right.
In a not a bad NFC West either.
Right. They got a real interesting schedule coming up, though. Their next game is on Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks. After that, they play Arizona again. And then to close out the year, they play the Packers, Ravens, Saints, Falcons, Rams, and Seahawks.
That's tough.
That's
real tough.
It's going to be a tough stretch, but we'll actually see what this team is really made of. And it's not take away nothing from what they've done, though. They have gone in every game, and they've done what they needed to do, and that's win. Do you say they're going to run the table? No, definitely not going to happen against that lineup. But if you're a San Francisco 49er fan, you got to be really happy with what you're seeing. And dare I say, playoffs are going to be in that future.
Well, you got to think that right now, given the fact, 10 now? 8-0, that you got to think that, you're not going to lose 8 straight. Then,
Lord, I would hope not.
Yeah, I mean, in Green Bay, given the fact that you play them head-to-head, just coming off a really bad loss in Los Angeles. So you already have 2 games up on them right now.
Right.
Not to mention the fact that if you do go on a run, I mean, if they lose 2 games, they're easily going to be, even if they lose, I think they could go 11-5 and still lock in first place.
Here's the thing, though. They're in first place, 8-0. Second place is the Saints, who are 7-1. Third place is the Packers, who are 7-2.
Right.
So if they lose 2 games in a row, they're knocked out of first place in the NFC, and they're sitting there looking at third place.
Well, the playoff races in both. I mean, there's more teams in the AFC who have the potential to get into the playoffs, but the top 4 teams are all within, minus the Cowboys, of a game each other. In the NFC, in the NFC, and then the AFC, they're all within a game of each other.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the fact that we can actually mention Pittsburgh now making a resurgence and jumping in there is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Albeit, though, they did get a little bit of luck. So
A little bit of help.
obviously,
luck, I see what you did there.
Yeah, king of the segues. Talk to me.
Yeah, so for my leap, I decided to take the Pittsburgh Steelers going against the Indianapolis Colts. I figured, you know what, they've been on a run of late. I think they'd be able to pull this one off. Didn't know that old man Vinatieri would have to doink one or shank one for me to get that one for me. Pittsburgh Steelers ended up winning by a final score of 26-24. Like I said, though, Adam Vinatieri had a chance to win the game, clutch at the end and missed it. Brian Hoyer, 17 of 26 for 168 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, taking over for a injured Jacoby Brissett, who went down in this, I believe it was the second quarter. Mason Rudolph, 26 of 35 for 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Really not a lot you got to take away from this game.
I mean, Pittsburgh's defense looks alive and has a pulse.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're waking up at the right time.
I'll say 5 sacks during the game, 4 on Brian Hoyer, 1 on Jacoby Brissett.
And Minka Fitzpatrick, looks like a great trade now.
Yeah, that looks phenomenal. So the Steelers, you got to be very happy in the direction they're going. Obviously, they're taking advantage of Cleveland's woes.
Yeah.
And they are they going to catch up to Baltimore? No. But can they make a run for the wild card? Absolutely.
They can definitely make a run for the wild card and even, create some noise and make some mess at the end of the season when we're sitting there watching, Fox Sports 1 or ESPN going, all right, there's this team, and here's the 9 different scenarios they need to get into the playoff.
Yeah. So, obviously, a lot of luck could happen in their favor. And for the Colts, obviously, with Brissett going out, their future is looking very, very murky, to say the least.
Old man Hoyer comes in, steps right in, drops 3 touchdowns. I mean, played well.
I'll say, just know, at one point yesterday, there were 1 current, 3 former Patriot quarterbacks on the field.
Yeah, I mean,
wild.
That was when it happened during the offseason, we said that was a good pickup. I mean, at the time, we thought Hoyer was going to arguably make a run. Well, yeah, we thought he was going to push Brissett even out of the starting job. So he's going to be serviceable. I mean, the Colts, I think, are still going to be in a solid position. Even if Brissett sits out a duration of time, I still think they're going to be okay with Hoyer.
Oh, yeah. No, Hoyer's definitely a serviceable backup or even just a guy you put in there while your starter is injured or you're waiting on him to come back. He'll get the job done for you. He's not flashy. He's not exactly going to set, a top 10 play countdown on fire, but he'll get the job done for you.
Right. He'll get the job done, but he's no Russell Wilson.
This is true.
By any stretch of the imagination, which you have to look at what Seattle's doing in the West. And obviously, my lock came through. Didn't hit the point spread, though, but it doesn't matter. 40-34 out of a risky come-from-behind win for Seattle. Pat, you got those stats?
Yep, so final score was Seattle 40, Tampa Bay 34, winning in overtime. Jameis Winston, 29 of 44 for 335 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Russell Wilson, 29 of 43 for 378 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Coach?
I mean, it's never a question of what Pete Carroll goes to do. Because he goes to win the game. I mean,
this is true.
He has had gutsy calls before, and I mean that is just his coaching style, and it pays off, especially when you look at the fact that Tampa Bay had played well, and the question mark that Tampa Bay is, we can get into in a second, but obviously they were playing well. And the gutsiness that Wilson has, the gutsiness that Carroll have, Seattle obviously is never going to be a team that just drops down and quits, whether they're down 20 or down 30 or up 30. They're never going to stop.
It's one of those things that the culture in Seattle is going to remain true to where it's been from obviously when Carroll took over,
right,
and really just define what Seattle football is. They're going to play every down. They're going to stick in every game no matter what the score is. And Tampa Bay is a team on the rise, let's face it. They have a lot of offensive weapons, and to go into Seattle and try pulling off a win is no easy feat. Seattle's scraps. Russell Wilson is having an MVP-type season.
For sure.
Which nobody's really talking about.
You can definitely tell Tampa Bay was definitely trying in this game because, I'm sorry, Mike Evans, 12 catches for 180 yards. My goodness.
Obviously, they got a battle of wide receivers there. And Seattle's wide receiving core is very quiet, obviously, without Doug Baldwin anymore.
I mean, even when Doug Baldwin was there, he wasn't an argument. He was a good wide receiver, but I mean, you put him on pretty much, I would say, 75% of the rest of the league, and he's a number 2.
Yeah. Right. I mean, but you look at what Seattle's receiving core did on Sunday. Tyler Lockett, 13 catches, 152 yards. DK Metcalf, 6 catches for 123 yards. He averaged 20 and a half yards a catch.
Well, when you're throwing for 378, somebody's got to be catching them.
This is true.
Yeah, and this is what Wilson does. I mean, Seattle is going to be in every game. They're going to make a big playoff push.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to definitely be in contention when it comes time to form in the wild cards.
Well, and then even talk that receiving core. They added Josh Gordon to that receiving core, so that'll make things interesting.
Yeah, it will.
But it depends. Russell Wilson, like we've kind of touched about a little bit, he's never really had a true number one.
That's true.
I mean, it's debatable about Baldwin. I mean, that turned out to be his by default. But
And they had Percy Harvin towards the end of his career.
Right. But he's never had like a true number one. Could Josh Gordon reclaim the old magic from Cleveland?
I mean, I thought he looked good when he was with the Pats.
The thing is he said when he was in New England, he doesn't want to be the number one guy anymore.
Right.
That's the thing.
That's the only thing that you got to be a little worried about signing him, but it's a low risk, high reward.
Yeah, I mean, you got nothing to lose when you claim him off waivers.
Right.
Yeah, so for Seattle to make, an offensive move and come back and scrap like this, truly impressive.
Yeah.
Not as impressive as Baltimore pulling off the upset and, dare I say, making a statement win.
No, you'd have to say so, yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to dig at your Pats.
No, it's fine.
I'm not, but you have to look at the score 37-20.
Better to take the loss now than in the Super Bowl, because Lord knows I can't take that for a third time.
No, but you have to look at what Baltimore has been doing. And I said, I mean, I took this as my leap last week. And for the AFC North, like we said, Seattle or Pittsburgh is coming along, but really they don't have to worry about them. Cleveland is a sinking ship. Cincinnati is holding up the bottom of the ocean. So for Baltimore, they need to say, okay, what are we going to stand out? Are we going to be one of the elite teams in the AFC, or are we just going to be enough to win the division?
Right.
Taking it to the Patriots, who we say you have to play perfect football to beat them, and give the Devils their due.
Yeah.
You have to. They did, to take a look for the most part. I mean,
For the most part, I mean, the thing with the Patriots, and you can even look back to the game against Cleveland where, okay, yes, it was a defensive masterpiece from Belichick, 3 turnovers and 3 plays.
Which Belichick?
Exactly. The thing of it is, though, is Nick Chubb ran all over that defense. You look at this game, okay, Lamar Jackson, 17 of 23 for 163 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Their leading receiver was Marquise Brown, who had 3 catches on 48 yards. Running game, though, Mark Ingram had 15 carries for 115 yards. Lamar Jackson himself had 16 carries for 61 yards. Run on that defense, you're going to have a lot of success.
This is the thing, and this is what drives me nuts, because every year we do this. The Patriots start out 0 with no losses, and every year a team beats them. And every year it's the blueprint is out. We know how to beat the Patriots. You need to run the ball, and you need to blitz Tom Brady. That blueprint was already done 2 times by the shell of themselves, New York Giants. The blueprint's there. You already know. Ahmad Bradshaw and that running back core back then tore the Patriots apart.
I'm trying to recall this, but my mind's blanking.
Yeah. Well, let me remind you. Let me rehash this real quick. Give me some positivity here before we talk about the Giants. They gashed them on the run.
Yeah.
And, I mean, to the point where the play action was there, and that's how you beat the Patriots, because if you just straight in like Cleveland did last week, when you try to pass the ball on this team and they know the pass is coming, it's not going to work because that secondary is too good and that front 4 or front 3 is too good.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get passes off against them.
No.
But when you get the run established, you can set up play action. That's when you can send this team into a bit of a flux. And then on the offensive side of the ball, it's a tale as old as time. You press Tom Brady, you get in his face, and you hit him. And not to say that he folds, but things start to go wrong for him, and it's a little bit of quicksand, like in the replacements. Things start adding up. Now, I don't understand why more teams don't do this, but Baltimore executed it flawlessly.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is just with other teams not being able to follow this is just they're overthinking it.
Exactly.
It's the mystique, it's the aura, it's the, oh my gosh, we got a plan for X, Y, Z, 1, 2, and 3, when realistically all you got a plan for is X and 1.
All you need to do is put pressure on Tom Brady and control the ball on the clock.
Yeah.
That is how you beat the Patriots. You keep their offense off the field. Now, mind you, though, you have to get the run game going. It can't just be one, first and 10, you get 2 yards. And then it's second and 10 or second and 8, and then you get 1 yard. So now you're 3rd and 7. You can't do that. They know the pass is coming. You have to get at least 4 to 6 yards on first down.
Yeah.
And then you have to get another 2 to 4 to either convert it on the run or to get it enough so it's 3rd and 1 and now they don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I mean, but Baltimore, I mean, I can't speak enough of this team. I loved what they did with Lamar Jackson. I think they might have shown a little too much.
I was just going to touch upon that.
Because they were running a lot of sets that we hadn't seen yet with the full house backfield, out of the pistol, the read options that, hadn't been seen yet. And to pay the Patriots credit, they probably held back a little bit too. Bill Belichick I'm not to say that he lost this game on purpose, but this man knows that he's going to see this team in the playoffs.
It's one thing to deal with the Patriots and to go, next level thinking like that.
Right.
And
but that's their psychology, though.
I agree with you. No, I fully agree, because one takeaway from this game I thought is Belichick pulled back a little bit because he wanted to see what the whole hand was going to be that Baltimore was showing. And I thought they did that flawlessly. Take nothing away from Baltimore's win. They did what they had to do.
Sure.
It was a great win. I'm not faulting them one bit. They took advantage of turnovers. I mean, the Julian Edelman fumble was a huge game changer.
Yeah.
So Baltimore did what they needed.
And their defense played well, which had not going into this game.
But this is also due to the Baltimore coaching staff, because no matter how the Ravens have been, they always step up for the Patriots.
That's true.
Always
step
up.
Ed Reed getting into the Ring of Fame also helped, too.
Oh, I'm sure they came in fully motivated and ready to make a statement in their own right.
We haven't seen video, but I'm willing to bet money that Ray Lewis was in that locker room pregame.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. No, they came out
for
swinging. They had a little energy to them that we hadn't seen prior. But Baltimore is coming along at the right time. I do agree with you, Coach. I thought they showed too much. Mm-hmm. That was the only thing I was slightly worried about. So when they meet again later in the road, because you have to think Baltimore is going to be in that upper echelon for playoff teams down the season. If Baltimore showed too much, they're going to have to reinvent the wheel. To beat Belichick, you're going to have to show something else that he hasn't seen.
As a young, growing up, there was always told and instilled in me, beating a team twice is hard. Mm-hmm. Beating a team 3 times is impossible.
Yeah.
Beating a Belichick team twice is impossible. Beating them a third time is just forget it. So, I mean, for them to show everything with the read options, the triple options, the straight speed options, now to go into the AFC Championship game where all things considered are probably going to be in New England. Mm-hmm. That is a big cause for concern if I'm a Baltimore fan, because you showed everything. There isn't anything else that you now are not going to show them that Belichick, given the fact that they're going to have a first-round bye, they're going to be able to watch your game, whoever you're playing, and then prepare for you in the AFC Championship game.
This is where Harbaugh and Co. is going to really have to come up with something.
That is the type of game then when Harbaugh, that they go back and they say, remember the Week 8 performance when Baltimore spanked them? Yeah, well, Belichick remembers that too.
So as the saying goes, they're going to have to deep dig into the playbook, like page 140.
Oh, yeah, they're going to have to do it because obviously with Belichick, with the pedigree he has, he's going to remember this loss. He's going to know, okay, what happened, what went wrong. And he's going to come out with a whole new game plan that Harbaugh and company are not going to be ready for.
Not at all.
The question is going to be, how can Lamar Jackson and company adapt to it on the field? Because you can call the plays you want from the sidelines, but when you get on the field, you're going to have to make those adjustments, and you're going to try telling me that Belichick is going to have brand new schemes ready to rock and roll for the playoffs? I mean, I don't want to say there's anything like a good loss, but this was a good loss for the Patriots because you really saw what an opponent has. You're really going to have to make some adjustments to face them down the road. And honestly, this season, have they really faced a mobile quarterback like Lamar Jackson?
No.
There isn't one.
No.
Exactly.
There isn't one.
So this was a good test to see, okay, what they need to improve on.
Yeah, you can't prepare for it. It's like when Notre Dame goes into and plays Navy every year. They don't see that offense every year. So, everybody gets up in arms when Navy starts, and the Michigan game, when Navy played Michigan this year and almost won. That when you see an offense for the first time that you don't see on a regular basis, it throws off your schemes and it throws off what you do defensively. Mm. So now when you go into this game and now you're prepared and you know what you're looking for and you can devise schemes too, okay, we know that we need to have whoever the starting linebacker is for the Patriot, we need him to spy, Lamar Jackson on 2nd and 9 because we know that a read option's coming. Now and you're devising a scheme for it, so when you see the looks and you see that pistol set, boom.
You know what's coming and you know it's going to be something you're going to have to deal with.
Exactly.
And for Baltimore, a lot of promise and a lot of good things to take away, but you're going to have to reinvent the wheel. For New England, it's not back to the drawing board. It's on to the next game.
If any New England fan was panicked, it's like, calm down. I literally walked away from this game saying that's a good win for Baltimore and a good loss for New England.
Yeah, that's the way it should be taken. Because I don't see the Patriots going on a downward slide, even though I would love to see it as a Bills fan. But it's not going to happen.
There was probably no man calmer than Belichick after that game.
Yeah. He was
nobody.
Because he's been here before. He's not going to panic.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show the structure of leadership they have with the Patriots. They're not going to break. This will be a bruise, but it'll fade. And they'll just go on to the next game. They don't have anything to worry about, per se. That being said, I'm going to kind of skip through your locks and leaps very quick, Coach, because I want to get that Giants take.
Well, I took the Lions that lost. Great. And nobody circles the wagons like the Bills can. All right? We know.
I thank you for starting a new tradition, yes.
All right. So
Giants-Cowboys, let's break it down.
Do you want to give the disclaimer, Ken? Or Pat, whoever wants to?
I'll leave this one for Ken.
The thoughts, views, and opinions of that of Coach Duffy about the New York Football Giants are that of Coach Duffy and do not represent the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour in any way, shape, or form. Listener discretion is advised.
Pat Schumer sucks. He is brutal. I mean, first off, Odell Beckham. I don't even know where that's coming from. Saquon Barkley, arguably the best running back in the NFL right now. Arguably. I mean, I still kind of lean Zeke right now, and Le'Veon I still think is very talented, but Saquon Barkley is right there. A generational talent, regardless. We can all agree on that, I assume?
Yeah, I'll give you.
20 touches. 20. And 4 of those were goal line carries. So you're giving one of the most explosive and dynamic players in the wide open field, you're giving him 4 carries on the goal line. And that's 4 of his 20 touches. I have a new thing with Schumer. When his halftime speech, and when he gives that to whoever's covering the game, and the words come out of his mouth, and I'm going to give it to you in a second, this should be a cause for concern. We need to get Saquon involved in the second half. Read that between the lines. That means that they're taking Saquon out of the game because they don't use him when he says that. They do the opposite. It's like they think that the people are listening and they're like, "Oh, the Cowboys just heard they're going to get Saquon involved. We better we better key on him every play." No. They don't use him at all. He's non-existent. I mean, he had 1 screen pass for 60 yards. Hello, McFly. Like, that's what you should be doing with him. And then literally, and I'm watching this game, and I'm sitting there with my wife, who is an Ohio State fan, loves Ezekiel Elliott, so she loves watching the Cowboys and Ezekiel play. I was a big Clinton Portis guy back in the day, so I can understand rooting for another team in the division's running backs. And she's sitting there, and she loves to watch Zeke play, and I'm like watching how they use Zeke. And I'm like, the Giants should be doing that, the same thing. They should be utilizing Saquon Barkley the same way that Ezekiel Elliott's used. And I understand that the offensive line's not the same. I mean, the Cowboys has the highest paid offensive line in the NFL. The Giants have the worst offensive line. The thief that is Soldier on the left side, blindsiding the Giants, robbing them blind of a paycheck, doesn't help anything. But, I mean, you still can use Saquon Barkley in the point that he can get more than 20 touches a game. It's mind-boggling. And then you finally have the defense play well. And you cause 2 turnovers in the red zone, and you get 6 points? 6 points off of 2 turnovers in the red zone. I just don't. It's so frustrating because the NFC East is a dumpster fire. Mm-hmm. We think Cleveland's bad. The whole entire NFC East is trash. None of the teams should even make the playoffs. They don't even deserve to have an NFC East representative because they're garbage. The fact that an NFC East team is going to be the 4 seed and have a home field advantage in one of the first round of the playoffs is a travesty. But here we are, and you are sitting here 2-5, and you're 2 games out of first place.
Yeah.
2-5, and you're 2 games out, and you put up this performance on Monday Night Football, which, granted to Dallas, they held in there, and they were down. They came back to win. Kudos to you. But, my God, Pat Schumer is terrible. It's not even to the point where it's like, all right, they need a whole new, it's from top to bottom, but the coaching is awful. I understand that they're going to key on Saquon Barkley. I get that. But you have to get him more. When Detroit played with Barry Sanders, don't you think that people knew that Barry Sanders was going to get the ball? Mm-hmm. Especially when Scott Mitchell.
Oh,
everybody remembers Scott Mitchell was the quarterback?
Oh, man, throw it back.
Don't you think that they were like, I don't think we need to worry about stopping Scott Mitchell. We should probably key on that Barry Sanders guy. But what did Barry Sanders still do?
He still ran.
Tore up the NFL. I don't get it. I just don't. It doesn't make any sense to me.
For what it's worth, through 6 games, now granted, Saquon did miss 3 games.
Sure.
He has 88 attempts, 401 yards, 2 touchdowns.
And that's just the touchdown thing. Is whatever, because I mean, when they get to the goal line, teams are just stuffing the box, and he can't get room to run because the offensive line's so bad. But when you are in wide open space, he can make anybody miss a tackle. You've seen that. He literally, in a preseason game, jumped over a man who was still standing and still broke 2 more tackles after that in the middle of the field. So the man can do anything. There is no limitation on what he can do. I just don't understand. I don't get it. And, I mean, listen, Daniel Jones is terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. My God, like,
The shrine has come down.
I mean, reality has set in, New York Giants fans. Kyler Murray is playing a hell of great football with a much worse team than what Daniel Jones has. Daniel Jones is surrounded by Evan Ingram, who is an all-pro talent at tight end, Golden Tate, who had a hell of a catch, Saquon Barkley, and Sterling Shepard when he's healthy, which unfortunately right now concussion syndrome is setting in, so it's a scary thing for him. But great talent, enough to make a playoff run, minus the offensive line. And he is second in the NFL in turnovers right now.
Yeah.
And he's missed 2 games. That is literally, and he's making the same effing mistakes that Eli Manning had. And what is everybody? It's the offensive line's terrible. No shit, the offensive line's the same offensive line it was in week 1 and week 2.
I'm not a Giants fan, but I've been hearing Giants fans complain about the offensive line for like the last 3 years.
Well, yeah, it's been that bad.
I get Eli's bad, but I'd shore up the offensive line before I'd worry about a new quarterback.
One would think, right?
Hashtag Flowers Power.
I mean, hell, he's playing pretty good at right guard for Washington right now. I don't know. You saw him in that Bills game. He's not playing bad.
He's not playing that bad, but to sum it up for the Giants, though,
it's bad. It's abysmal.
It's bad. It's not New York Jets losing to Miami bad, but it's close.
It's goddamn close.
As a man once said, it's terrible.
Listen, they still have to play Miami.
Yeah.
That is a cause for concern. I mean, so I'm fortunate enough right now. I'm going to be at the Jets-Giants game this weekend. I'm very concerned that the Jets are going to win this game, and it's sad. I mean, it's a sad time for New York football because, I mean, all credit to Buffalo. They are definitely a superior team in all shapes, ways, and forms in New York. And I mean, I know none of you guys got to say anything, but it's insane to me that when you're sitting here and you're talking about the fact that Saquon Barkley is getting 20 touches a game, and you have a rookie quarterback dropping back 43 times, and he has as many turnovers as he has, and it's just, well, it is what it is. He's a rookie quarterback. That is unacceptable. I grew up in the 90s. I saw the Giants when they were at their rock bottom with David Brown. Mm-hmm. You cannot just sit here and say, well, he's learning, because you did not give Eli that same time, and you're not in the fact that people are accepting losing for Giants football. It's like, wake up, people. The team was just in the playoffs 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the window is closing. I'll admit, with the current team they have, and they have to have that sense of urgency. The Giants haven't shown that, and that's the biggest issue. That you have Saquon, who is a generational talent. He's proven it thus far. They're not utilizing him to his full advantage. Schumer obviously has kind of lost the team, in my opinion.
Oh man, I mean, right now he's McAdoo 2.0.
Yeah. And I never saw this coming. Because when you're letting Dak Prescott go for 257, 3 touchdowns, Elliott's running for $139.
But that's a
Cooper's got 80.
But then there's an interception in there,
right?
And a fumble off of Ronald Cobb. So the defense played well.
The defense played well, but when you're making those turnovers and you're not capitalizing on them, I mean, in comparison, Daniel Jones, 210 and a touchdown, but an interception. And Saquon, I mean, like I said, 28 yards rushing, but Daniel Jones, when he's your leading rusher that game for 54 yards, I mean, that says it all.
Daniel Jones wasn't the leading rusher, that cat was.
Yeah.
Well, that cat is currently...
It's all the cat's fault, by the way. But no, seriously, I mean, when you get that interception, the first play is a handoff left and then a handoff right. What do you think Dallas is looking for next? They know you're passing the ball.
Yeah.
And it's just that is stupid. That is stupid coaching. Anybody could have said play action would have been there, off of that first down look, and then run the second down and then throw the third down. That's his inability to create things to get people open. I mean, and it was the same problem last year with Odell Beckham. And my God, I mean, could you imagine this team right now? Daniel Jones is not the answer.
He's definitely not. So.
That is where I will leave that. And I feel better. And listen, Giants fans, interact with me on this. Talk to me. It's a safe place. Pad and Ken give me this time because, I mean, they know the frustration. I mean, Pad doesn't because the Patriots have been good since he was in diapers. But Ken, you've been there.
I wouldn't go that far.
I have been here with you, so that's why I'm letting you vent, my
you
friend.
know this, and I mean, guys, talk to me. I will love to interact with you. And if you want to argue that Daniel Jones is the savior, even though he's not, and it's very clear because he is what he is, a guy who was a sub quarterback in college and a reach at 6. Talk to me about it because I'll tell you why you're wrong.
So let's end it on that note, shall we?
Sure.
We'll put Coach Duffy's Twitter on there along with hashtag ODPH. Join in the conversation. You can find our social media accounts on OchoDoroParlayHour.com. Trust me, you post something to Coach Duffy, he will answer you.
It's a safe place, guys.
It's a safe place. He likes debating about football, and he will talk New York Giants football with you, good, bad, ugly, whatever. He'll definitely do it. But hit us up. Let us know what your thoughts were about this past week of football. A lot of stories going on with the NFL, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Hot lips touching, cool thighs feeling, shudder running up, her spine spinning, long day to a long night, but I'm not stopping till I get it right.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this edition of the ODPH, and we have to talk some UFC action. UFC 244 came and went this past weekend. We hung out with our fellow hashtag 607 podcast brother and the 3 Fat Nerds, and actually Lamar Hawkins from Excited Wrestling swung through too. So shout out to everybody who came through for the fights. The dog actually made a rare appearance as well. Obviously, big fights drawing a big crowd out, and UFC 244 definitely delivered on the hype.
Yeah.
Albeit, though...
It delivered, although I'm not sure delivered on the hype is quite the phrase for it.
A lot of controversy going in. I mean, the night was kind of set off by Johnny Walker getting knocked out by or TKO'd.
First round, 2 minutes and 7 seconds in.
Say it isn't so.
I know. The franchise went down.
Caught him.
Yeah, he got stopped by Corey Anderson.
Caught him.
We kind of knew something was going to be up that night. Because, I mean, obviously, when he got slowed up...
Well, you know something's going to be up because, for me, with how a card, be it a pay-per-view card, ESPN Plus card, what have you, is going to be, all right, how's the prelims going? If it's a mix of decisions and submissions and knockouts, I'm like, all right, it could be a good night. If it's all decisions, we're going to be here for a long night. Something was up with this on the prelim card where every fight on the prelim card was a knockout.
Yeah, so obviously going into this pretty hyped up. Going into the main card, we'll kind of give you a little, quick recap of each one. Kevin Lee knocked off Gregor Gillespie.
I'll say he took his soul.
Vicious knockout. Vicious head kick. Took him out.
Find the highlight. It's worth the watch.
Yeah. Devastating knockout. Lee looked great as his return to lightweight. Heavyweight, Derek Lewis pulled off the upset over Blagov Ivanov. Decision. I agreed with the decision.
Split decision.
I had no problem with this. Yeah, the split decision. I thought Lewis pressured the pace a little bit more. In the welterweight bout between Stephen Thompson against Vince Luque, Thompson looked good. And
unanimous decision.
He looked like, Wonder Boy returned. And
I'll say I don't necessarily agree with the one judge, though, who had it 29-27.
Yeah, I didn't understand that
30-26, please.
No, but like I said, Wonder Boy looked back to form.
Yeah.
It looked great.
Yeah.
And in the co-main event, Kelvin Gastelum lost to Darren Till by decision.
Split decision.
You can say what you will. I wasn't really impressed by this one. I would say this probably was the worst fight for me on the card.
Yeah, I mean, out of the bunch of them, I didn't enjoy all of them, but this one, if you're asking me to rank them, it's probably at the bottom.
Yeah, so obviously Till pulled off the big win at middleweight. Where he goes from here, I know he's already started calling out names.
Yeah.
Wait and see.
Yeah.
That's what I say about this one. But let us get to the main event and the controversy involved with it.
A little bit of controversy.
For the baddest motherfucker belt.
Mm-hmm.
If this is a real thing, I don't know moving forward. The Rock had a championship belt.
Yep. Came out.
Carried it old school style,
Old school.
baby.
Yeah, I mean, from
Old
the
school.
weigh-ins when he decided to cut an old school Rock promo.
Yeah. Came out to his theme song.
Yeah.
Or his entrance music.
Obviously, there's been so much hype involved with this. Nate Diaz has become a brand new star in the UFC, transcending from where he was before. We talked about this last episode. To sum up, like that, he is now one of the biggest names in all of MMA. Is crazy to see just how rapid this has risen. I mean, from pushing USADA to make his drug test, get reviewed and eventually cleared.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of wild just to see how he's now set the precedent moving forward. Take nothing away from his opponent, Jorge Masvidal, who has been on a roll lately. Ooh. This has been the fight the fans have wanted. This was what we expected, I would say, for the most part.
Yeah.
But what happened for the decision?
It was a TKO by doctor stoppage.
Yes. So, Coach, let me ask you this. If you are fighting for a belt that is the BMF belt, do you want this stopped on a doctor's...
Oh, hell no. Hell no. I wouldn't want it stopped on regardless of situation. I mean, unless, like, the cut is so severe to the point that it's impairing my... unless it's so bad that it's impairing my ability to fight and see, I probably still, as a fighter, would not want the fight to stop, but I would respect the doctor's request in order to do that because, I mean, that is their job at the end of the day to put the fighter's safety first. But, I mean, as a fighter, hell no.
I mean, for me, it would come down to this. Is this going to be a threat to my long-term health? Mm-hmm. Is this something that, should the fight continue, I will lose vision in my one eye? And if that's the case, and here's the thing, we don't know why the doctor stopped this fight, or at least I haven't read anything quote-wise about why the doctor stopped this fight. The only thing I've read quote-wise from the doctor who stopped this fight was that folks are threatening him.
And that's ridiculous.
Threatening him, the practice he works at, and his immediate family are receiving death threats from people over this, if you're doing that, stop.
Yeah, if you're doing that,
stop.
That is ridiculous. Like, listen, you have bad calls all the time in sports, from referees to judges, whatever. Taking it to that extreme, above and beyond the call of duty, and honestly, you should not be considering yourself a sports fan if you're doing that kind of threatening a man's livelihood and family and all that jazz. Yeah, that is above and beyond the call.
But to get back to the point, if the cut, injury, whatever it is an immediate threat to my long-term health, with Nate Diaz, it was a cut above the eye. If that cut was bad enough that they go, all right, listen, if you keep going and he keeps hitting you there, you will lose vision in your eye. Okay, fine, I get that. But if it's something that I got to sit in a hospital or the trainer's room or wherever it is they apply stitches in arenas, and I got to get a couple extra stitches, I'm fine with that. Let it keep going.
So before I get on my take, so did you agree with the stoppage or no?
No, I didn't agree with it at all.
Same.
Okay. I definitely did not agree with the stoppage, and I will break it down like this. For the first 3 rounds, Masvidal imposed his will, and I thought he looked great. His striking was on point, snuck in a couple nasty elbows. Nate was hanging in there, and Nate was doing what Nate does, and that's scrap. Nate bleeds during a lot of fights. If you go through his history of fights, if Nate Diaz doesn't bleed in a fight, it's not a Nate Diaz fight. The same thing happens with Nick. This is how they are. This is nothing to take away. This is part of the mystique of why they have the following they do. When you see their names on the marquee, you're going to see a fight. You're not going to see a grappling match. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see, for the most part, a submission battle, even though they can definitely go to the ground and with their jiu-jitsu skills. This was going to be a fight to say who is the BMF. Masvidal was winning this fight, and did he open up a cut that it looked like the same cut that Nate suffered when he was fighting Anthony Pettis?
I'll say I would put Nick in the same conversation as Joe Lozon. Like, if they're fighting, there's going to be blood in some fashion.
Absolutely. So did I think this cut was warranting the stoppage? No, in my opinion, I don't think it was.
So we've seen worse.
We've definitely seen worse.
I remember, I think it was Brock's last UFC fight before he retired and before he came back at UFC 200, where he took a cut so bad you saw his cheekbone on the slow motion replay.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the discretion of the athletic commission you're fighting in. And obviously, this one is being a lot of controversy around it. I understand the controversy because of how it ended, and obviously the cut is bad. It's not to say that it was a little scratch that dripped a couple drops. No, this was a nasty cut, and there's nothing away from it. But to see this fight get stopped on that note is a very, I want to say deterrent. I don't want to say black eye on the sport because I don't think it's the right word.
No, it's not a good look.
It's not a good look, and especially for the UFC's 500th live event, as this was in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
The hype was there.
Yeah.
To see it end like this, really not agreeing with. I get the doctor's stoppage. And if you really are that worried about the fighter losing his eye, which apparently was, I mean, that is what it is. I understand it. I don't agree with it. And then moving forward with this, Masvidal gets awarded the belt. Nate immediately wants to run it back.
Yeah.
Masvidal wants to run it back. Or Masvidal is calling out a couple of different fighters, but he's earned the right. You win the fight. And albeit, Nate needed to pull off a hell of a knockout or submission in those 4th and 5th rounds to pull off the win. Because, I'm sorry, how I scored it, Masvidal won that fight. So there really isn't a question about it. But let me ask the panel this, starting with Coach. Do you think they need to have an immediate rematch?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that both fighters have said they're in for it, right?
Yeah, no, both fighters said immediately after the fight when Joe Rogan went to interview him, hey, listen, we both hate how this ended. Let's run it back.
But the only thing is Dana White has said that he's not interested in doing an immediate rematch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen a couple different reports saying that. He understands the doctor stoppage and really wasn't excited about doing one. I think in this situation you need to.
Yeah.
I don't think you can have this fight end like that. And like I said, Dana could change his mind from, like I said, I did read a couple different reports. So the consensus was that he agreed with the stoppage. He understood it. He wasn't a fan of it.
I would agree with Dana if the doctor stopped it late in the 4th, early in the 5th round. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, no, there's no reason to run this back. And if, let's just say in this hypothetical scenario, Masvidal was continuing to win. That at this point, if we're early in the 5th round, Masvidal's up 4 rounds to nothing. I would agree with Dana and go, why do we need to do this again? Masvidal won the first 4 rounds unless, Diaz pulled off an act of God and somehow knocked, Jorge out by some miracle. There'd no reason to run it back. But that's not what happened. We're sitting here, in the 3rd round, so 15 minutes had gone by. There was still another 10 on the docket. There's still time. I feel like there's no closure with this. Okay, yes, Jorge Masvidal has the title. Asterisk. There was a doctor stoppage.
Well, that's going to be the problem with this moving forward. I mean, depending on what they want to call this. I mean, is it now an actual title belt?
No, I think
this is for show.
I think it's for show, and I could very well see it being a one-time deal. I could also just see it being a fun thing that, okay, whoever Jorge Masvidal goes up against and fights, if they're fortunate enough to beat him out, okay, here you go, here's the belt. Now, it's just something for fun.
Yeah, this is one of those situations that they now have to figure out, okay, what's next for everybody.
I could also see it being like the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy they parade out every year for WWE, where you see it for a month and then forget about it.
Yeah, this could be something to say, okay, this is good for title, but you're not going to be defending each round or each fight moving forward. Obviously, you shouldn't, because for me, Masvidal has a couple different options I'm going to throw out there. One, he is now legitimately the number 1 contender at 170.
Oh, yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
You can't tell me otherwise. So he gets the winner of Usman and Colby Covington if he wants to wait that long. I think he's earned it. I don't have any issue with it. The other one, which I'll throw out to the panel, and Coach, I know that you have got some opinions on this one. Masvidal, Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I thought Masvidal was chirping a little bit in the presser. I think that would be a lot of fun. I mean, I kind of think that Conor obviously is looking set to return back to the octagon at some point here. So, I mean, I honestly, to see him just fight anybody at this point would be cool. I don't really care who it is. I would personally be a little afraid if I was Conor to be stepping in the first fight with Masvidal, just the way that he is right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's, fire right now. He's Hansel, he's so hot right now. I mean, he's a tough fight. So I wouldn't necessarily want that to be my first fight back.
No,
but
yeah.
The buy rates would be insane.
If I'm Conor, I'd be all for it just because like Coach said, the buy rates would be insane. But I'm with Coach. If I'm Conor, the only thing would be I'm not opposed to it. Let me get a tune-up fight in there with like some schmuck who I can beat. But let's be honest. My stock has fallen in the UFC. My ranking has fallen in the UFC. I need to build it back up a little bit. Let me fight some schmuck that I know I can beat, and you're the next guy I face. Let me, it's gonna be a tune-up fight. Let me just get something in, and then you're the next guy.
The problem with that, which I understand that logic, but the problem is Conor moves the needle too much.
Yeah.
That to sell him on, I will say a tomato can fight, so to speak, is not really going to work. And I think for this one, it would make a lot of sense for this fight to happen. I don't personally want to see it happen, though. I would go, okay, what has Conor done to warrant a fight at 170 against Masvidal that could impact the welterweight championship picture?
Mm-hmm.
That would be something I think me being the sport guy looking at it would have an issue with. For the entertainment value, yeah, it's box office. It'll sell. But this is the other scenario I'll throw at you. Masvidal gets the number one contendership.
Sure.
And let him and keep him in that, because I think that would make a lot more sense. For Nate Diaz, who, if he doesn't get this rematch, I'm guessing is going to disappear again.
Probably.
And rightfully so, because he's now almost warranted he gets to call his own shots. And like I said, how he has transcended where he was in the UFC about a year ago to where he is now, he's almost forcing the needle to move.
Yeah.
So if he does that, if I'm Nate, I'm saying, why don't you give me Conor for round 3?
Sure.
Let's do that. And that's box office right there.
That sells itself.
That would make a lot of sense. Or the dream fight I'd love to see is Nick Diaz versus Conor McGregor. You want to talk about BMFs? Put Nick in there against him and watch what happens. I think that would make a lot more sense. But moving forward with it, Masvidal's star rose very high. You have to say he's an emerging star in the UFC, but if you've been following MMA for a while, you know who he is. He's done nothing new to really, capture any attention other than he's finally been in a profile that can really showcase his skills and showcase his personality and really establish that he is the BMF right now.
I mean, I'm not opposed to the Nick Diaz thing, but I was just curious. I looked it up. I'm not opposed to the Nick Diaz thing, but he last fought in the UFC 4 years ago when he fought Anderson Silva, and that was the overturned fight because Silva tested positive, and so did Nick.
You know what? I don't think it would matter, though, against Conor. You give him enough time to get ready for it, I think that makes a lot of sense because you realistically look at this now, and, Coach, let me get your opinion. Conor last fought against Khabib. Hasn't fought since.
Sure.
Yep.
What really warrants him to get a title contender, per se, at either 155 or 170 right now?
I mean, you got to fight somebody who, you got to fight somebody who's in the top 5 for sure off the bat. And to me, it would have to be a dominating performance. Like he would have to come out and just put on an absolute clinic. It doesn't need to be a first round TKO, but it's got to be a fight where it's convincing enough to say that's the Conor of old.
Did they pull the belt off of him before or after the Khabib fight?
Before. I thought.
Okay.
It was during promotional stuff for the.
Okay.
For the.
I couldn't remember.
Match.
I get Conor moves the needle, and yeah, he's great for buy rates and everything financially for the UFC, but he hasn't done anything outside the octagon nonsense. Which Google it and click on news. You can see what I'm talking about. He hasn't done anything. This isn't, professional wrestling or whatever where it's, I never lost the title. I need my title shot. This is an actual competitive sport. You got to prove something to say, hey, I'm worth a shot at the title.
Yeah,
what has he done? Nothing.
That's the thing. It's the legitimacy of the UFC that wouldn't just give a guy a title fight just for the sake of buy rates.
And I'm sorry, launching a whiskey line, isn't worth a title shot.
No, I fully agree with you, and that's why I think if he's going to come back, he doesn't get to call his shot on this one. I think you either give him Justin Gaethje at 155, or you put him in the super fight against Nate Diaz. If he wins there, and let's say he wins decisively, okay, Then you can start talking about if he wants to go into title contention at either 155 or 170. But for a fighter who's had one UFC fight in the past 2 years because he's been too busy boxing
and setting up his business ventures.
Yeah, like how are you going to justify that?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
It's tough because that's the thing that I think is the credit to UFC is that when they do put guys in title fights, I mean, albeit whether if a division's depleted or not, then sometimes you might see a guy slide in who like the light heavyweight situation doesn't necessarily crack the enough be high enough to earn a title fight, but because the division's so depleted and they need to get a title fight in, they'll give a guy a shot. Though on the opposite end of that, though, when the division's loaded, it's like you can't just because you are who you are get a title shot. Like you actually have to earn your way into that ranking to get it.
And here's the thing with Conor. Okay, yes, he moves the needle. Okay, yes, he puts booster rockets from the old Mercury NASA rockets on pay-per-view buy rates when he's on the card. Would a card with him versus Jorge Masvidal be massive buys? Yes, duh. But to be honest, any fight card he's on will be huge buy rates because all you have to market this as, even if it's not against Jorge Masvidal or some big name, it's just some middle card guy or some guy who's on the cusp of being in a title contention. But he just needs that one more fight. You market as Conor McGregor's back. You are getting every casual fan, every fan who doesn't even know what the heck the sport is, but they know the name and they want to see who it is, buying that card.
Yeah, especially if even if you put it on pay-per-view or not. I mean, if you put him in a fight situation where there's press and everything and the other guy can chirp back and now it's the two of them bickering back and forth, it's always, he's a hell of a promoter. I mean, that's the one thing, even at this stage of his career right now, given the fact that he hasn't fought for a year and, has been in and out of trouble, the guy still knows how to promote himself.
And that helps him make anybody go further in the sport.
Exactly.
It is what it is. But for him, his future's up in the air. And for Diaz, I sense the same thing. Because I think that now, if he doesn't get this immediate rematch, he's gone. He's going to disappear. And I think the only fight that gets him back other than Masvidal is Conor.
So I do got to give a shout out to Nick Diaz. I'm looking at his record here. Check out this stretch at the end of his UFC career as we sit here recording. BJ Penn, Carlos Condit, George St. Pierre, and Anderson Silva all in a row. My God.
That's the thing, though, is I like, you almost feel like Diaz just... They don't care. They have their other stuff going on that, he's almost like that nostalgia fighter, for that old school UFC fan who still has. So that's why, like, when you read off those names, it's like he's that guy that you can stick into any fight because his style mixes with everybody.
Yeah, well, Nick will scrap with anybody.
Right.
I mean, Nick is, like you touched upon, he's an old school fighter that fans gravitate towards because when you pay to see fights, you want to see fights. You're not paying to see somebody dominate and lay and pray, as they term it, for 25 minutes on a $60, $70 pay-per-view.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You want to see a guy throw.
Yeah, you want to see some hands get thrown. That's why I said Nick versus Conor makes a lot more sense. Nate versus Conor would make sense at this stage, and I wouldn't have an issue with it because I really struggle with just giving Conor Masvidal and have him either Masvidal runs through him, which I think he would at 170. I don't think it would be any question. Or you have Conor just really throw a wrench into the 170 division, and then what does he go? Okay, do I get Habib and Ferguson winner after this? How do you justify jumping the line against Justin Gaethje? There's a lot more questions to get asked after UFC 244. Where does Masvidal go from here? Where does Nate Diaz go from here? And is Conor McGregor in that mix? We gave you a lot of topics to discuss. OchoDuroParlayHour.com for the social medias. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for the third segment on this edition of the ODPH, and it's been a while since we talked a little pro wrestling on here, but we finally have something to talk about.
Do we ever?
Because WWE did the smartest move they could of a bad situation.
Right.
This past weekend, we had NXT invade Smackdown and Raw.
Better invasion than when Nexus invaded.
You
Monday Night Raw.
bite your tongue.
Ah.
You bite your tongue. So let's get into that pro wrestling talk.
Yeah.
Coach, what was your thoughts going into this weekend?
Well, I mean, given the fact that obviously the everything that went around with the Saudi show and all the hoopla and fanfare of that, I think the biggest question was going to be what happened at SmackDown. I mean, everybody was like, we were texting back and forth. The internet was going like crazy. Like, what are they going to do?
Yeah,
they don't have anybody in the States.
It was something that we as wrestling fans hadn't seen since like the early 2010s when, there was that volcanic eruption in Iceland or whatever it was. And half of the Monday Night Raw crew got stuck overseas and couldn't fly back because they'd shut down like every flight out of Europe. And you had a similar situation where whatever the heck happened over in Saudi Arabia, there's a lot floating around. We don't know. So half of the roster, more than half of the roster for Friday Night SmackDown is stuck over in Saudi Arabia. What are you going to do? And it turned into arguably one of the best SmackDown shows they've ever had.
Yeah, obviously, I texted you. I thought that they would utilize NXT.
Oh yeah,
because they didn't.
The same thing.
They just didn't have any other options. And we all knew going into Survivor Series that it was going to be the three brands against each other. And they ended up setting up a walk-off home run, and they knocked the show out of the park.
Yeah.
It was great from start to finish. The way that they utilized the guys that they put in to the positions that they did, whether it be, the Miz, going against Tommaso Ciampa, which, there's already the brand with the Miz of being a quote-unquote stereotypical WWE guy, Ciampa being the internet darling. So that story writes itself and has since, his rivalry with Daniel Bryan back in the day. And then Daniel Bryan against Adam Cole. That stuff, those are matches that we've been waiting a long time to see. And now here we're getting them on, Fox.
I'll say, Daniel Bryan versus Adam Cole is a pay-per-view worthy match.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's a WrestleMania match, but they gave it away for free on TV. I think this was the most brilliant, quote-unquote invasion they could have done, because we've seen, their invasions leading up to Survivor Series the last couple of years since the brand split, where one show shows up on the other show and they just beat the holy hell out of each other and walk out. Of course, everyone remembers last year when Becky Lynch got her nose busted up and was standing at the top of the stairs in the audience, raising her fist.
The night the man was born.
That was probably the premier moment that they've had as far as those, because those matches all turn out to be the same. It's one guy leaves, the next guy's out, and Raw ultimately wins, or last year it was Shane, and it was garbage,
But the thing I loved with this invasion, it wasn't just NXT running in and running roughshod over everyone, and yes, there were those moments, but it was sprinkled in. Here's Shayna Baszler attacking Bayley after her match is said and done with. Oh, here's Tommaso Ciampa coming out because, hey, Miz has got nobody to talk to. Oh, hey, Daniel Bryan wants to wrestle Triple H. I'm not going to wrestle you, but I know somebody who will. Oh, here's Adam Cole.
They structured it very well, obviously, due to the fact that the talent was stranded from the Crown Jewel pay-per-view.
Well, and the other thing I had heard was that there were travel issues for the NXT folks, that they landed late in Buffalo, and the only reason they showed up to the arena like a half hour late, and the only reason they got there as expediently as they did was thanks to the police escort they had from the airport to the arena.
However it got the job done, it needed to do it because they're coming off the Crown Jewel pay-per-view, which was very predictable in its own right. Because
absolute dud.
Yeah, Tyson Fury won via count out
or something.
Yeah, over Braun Strowman, who's now the new Bam Bam Bigelow, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry I'm putting that out there.
Hey, I said that his run was done weeks ago.
Yeah, and it's official now. I hate saying that, but it's true. You had Cain Velasquez get squashed by Brock Lesnar in the world's worst Kimura lock.
Yeah, but
sorry.
that was,
Brock's never been able to do that.
But and Kane needs surgery too, from what we're hearing.
Right.
Well, he already needed surgery beforehand, or at least I remember reading something about that. But he said he was good enough to go for the match, but just hey, I'm going to need surgery afterwards. But it sounds like it might be worse than it actually they thought.
But you knew those styles were going to be an issue together.
Yeah.
Kane needs to work with somebody, and so does Brock, that can take flops and do the bumps. And Kane needs to work with, I think, somebody who's a little quicker. From what we've seen in AAA.
Well, and especially as gifted as Kane is in MMA, he's still green in professional wrestling.
Right.
And granted, Brock's not, the greatest of all time. He works guys stiff almost all the time. Not the best pairing, I would say. Yes, if Kane was a little more seasoned, had a little more experience under his belt, it might have been better.
Sure.
But for where they are talent-wise now, not the best.
Well, it's going to come back down the road because the rematch will generate a lot more buzz.
Yeah.
So it made sense.
And you knew they were going to squash him because you knew they were going to give Brock the win back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Vince booking 101,
Oh, yeah.
where a guy
Oh, yeah.
gets one up on one of his guys, and that's all that's the talk about going into a show. Vince is always going to give that guy his one up.
Right, and to close that pay-per-view out, Bray Wyatt becomes your new world champion, defeating Seth Rollins.
That literally made me so angry. The whole thing from the Hell in a Cell to now this to then the follow-up on Friday night with Brock quitting and now, going into the show where we're all like, now they're both world titles going on SmackDown. Like, what are they going to do here? The whole thing was dumb. It was the Pat Schumer of booking wrestling.
I hated the whole booking and everything with the Seth Rollins Bray Wyatt storyline because, and I didn't realize this. Somebody retweeted on Monday Night Raw before Crown Jewel that the win he had on the Raw before Crown Jewel, or was that or the week before, was the first win he had on Raw in like 2 months because they've just been booking Bray to just be this dominant force, and understandably so. And I think anyone with a half a brain could have seen Bray winning this thing because, his gimmick is a scary looking dude, and the match was on Halloween. Like, it calls itself from a mile away. But then you also factor in that every time Seth went up against him, and admittedly it was a lot of times where it wasn't in a match, it was just running interference. Seth is never able to beat him. He might be able to trying to get away, but he was never able to stop him. And at that point, I'm going into this match he's not going to beat him.
Whatever they're going to do with the Bray Wyatt gimmick moving forward, at least he got the win. And if you're going to push him as the supernatural being, just wait for the match against The Undertaker because that's coming.
Yeah, but here's my biggest problem with that, and it's not so much the supernatural garbage and all that stuff. It's the fact that we just for months on Raw had to deal with not having a champion. And the narrative of Seth, being the one to slay the beast and all that stuff. So now for him to lose the title, Brock to then go on SmackDown and quit and now go to Raw, it's like we're rehashing the same stuff again because now the champion is on Raw that we're not going to see for months on end. And it's wicked. Just from a person with common sense is so stupid because now who's going to defeat the Beast again? And now they're just going to retell that storyline of the guy who, and then the fans they're into it right now. But 3 months from now when Brock's not on Raw every single night, the boos are going to come out because the champion's not there. And then the storyline's going to be, the champion's not here. I need to slay the Beast. I need to return the title. I need to do this. And it's just going to be the same garbage rehash.
That could be the case. I mean, let's be honest, it's more than likely going to be the case. But let's not forget, we all know Brock's contract situation and, you got to pay him per appearance and this whole nonsense. They got a lot more money to play with these days.
Well, do they, though?
Well, it's up for debate, but more or less they do. But to bring it back tenfold, though, Brock winning doesn't help anything.
Nothing.
And Bray now being the champion, I mean, SmackDown's going to get pushed as the A show. Raw is now becoming the B show. But at least what they did was smart is they're injecting new life into the show. Albeit if it's going to be for a couple weeks, it's going to be for a couple weeks. But with Survivor Series coming, they pushed NXT the right way.
Sure.
They're showcasing what their talent is on Wednesday night because even though it's on, a lot of mainstream fans don't know who NXT is.
Well, exactly. And that's the one thing that it made NXT look like it was a main player because the narrative has been that it's the minor league. Even with Finn showing up there, everybody was, why would he, downgrade to NXT? Like, why would somebody do that? When Prince Pretty and Fandango went down, it's, why would they go back down to NXT? But now the narrative of, them coming back actually makes it look like a main player. And I actually, to the credit though, I actually like them not using Finn in any of these attacks because I like keeping him separate from all that because it doesn't rehash the fact that you think that he had to go down because he couldn't play with the main players. So keeping him separate and then maybe using him come Survivor Series, I think was actually probably my takeaway, the biggest thing that they did and the smartest thing that they did.
I'm already giving you a halfway spoiler. I think he gets put on Team NXT, and he turns on them to join AJ, Gallows, and Anderson.
I see. What I actually think happens is he gets put on there, and I think he just walks away. Like, I just think it's old school heel.
There might be something to what you're saying, Ken, because I was listening to the WWE podcast with Corey Graves last week, and he interviewed Triple H for one of his segments during that podcast, and he brought up the Finn going back down to NXT thing got brought up, and the thing Triple H said is you might see that happen more often, where you've got a guy on the main roster who they just got done with a segment or a promo or something, and now they don't really know what to do with him. They got nothing for him, so he might be sitting around for the next 6+ months waiting for a reset to figure out what they're going to do for next, where Triple H might bring him in and go, hey, I got 6 weeks or 6 months to play with you. Why don't you come down, we'll work on some stuff, we'll build you up, and we'll send you back even better than you were. Well, that could be the case for Finn, where creative was going, you know what, we don't know what to do with you. Come back down to NXT, build him up into something he's never been, since he signed with WWE, and send him back better than he was.
It's going to be interesting to see how they play that out. But to sum up the weekend, though, of WWE programming, they hit a home run.
Absolutely.
And they injected new life in there. The fact that Adam Cole, which if you're not seeing the future is bright with him, you put him in 2 marquee matchups, albeit though they had to ruin it with run-ins against Seth Rollins.
Yeah, but that worked though because of what the narrative of that story was.
No, and I fully get that.
Well,
but
that's the Undisputed Era shtick. Put him, and that's not just Adam Cole. That's with any of their guys that are in a championship match. At some point, the other guys in that stable are going to come out and they're going to call run interference, whether the ref sees it or not.
Yeah, but I think he really stood out. And if you don't see the future is so bright with him, it's like you got to get your eyes checked.
I'll be very interested to see what the ratings are for NXT this week after it airs, given just the amount of focus it's been given.
Oh, you got to think that somebody from Raw or SmackDown is going to show up on there.
There'll be a bump.
At some point, yeah.
There'll be a bump. You'll see. I'm not going to say it's going to be a game changer, but you'll see a bump up in ratings. But for NXT, I thought they highlighted the right people. I thought Keith Lee stood out.
My problem was, though, is that the thing that I don't like is the consistency, though, because you got these guys who are now clashing with Riddle and Keith Lee, who were just, in a title match against each other and, going against Roderick Strong and Ciampa and all those things. And then you book them on a SmackDown show in an invasion angle where now they're on the same team, and then Wednesday's going to come up again, and these guys are going to be clashing again.
Well, it's always how it goes with Survivor Series.
The thing of it is they clashed against each other, and then the following week they tag teamed with each other.
Well, that's what you're saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, but it always happens with Survivor Series, so you have to suspend that belief, so to speak.
But I can't do it because my common sense kicks in too much.
It's still real to him, damn it.
It's still wrestling, though.
Wrestling.
But to be a fan right now, enjoy this, and see the matchups they're doing. I mean, Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch.
Whatever versus Bailey. Yes,
whatever, Ken.
Yeah, you know I'm in
that tag team matchup, though.
Whoa. Hold on real quick, though, before we do anything, though. I feel for Seth Rollins right now.
Yeah,
this guy just can't catch a freaking break.
I said to Ken when we were watching Raw last night that he came out and he started cutting that promo he cut on Monday Night Raw, and I go, I realized that wasn't a shoot promo, but the essence of it was.
But I mean, it's just like this guy is. Arguably, like I said before, when we've had George on the show, that he's arguably right now the Shawn Michaels of this generation, because no matter what he does, he's carrying the flag and the banner, and he just constantly gets a short end of the stick.
Yeah,
it sucks.
It's not fair. No, it's not fair. But this is how the internet is.
Yeah,
right? I know. I mean, listen. I'm a big boy. I can pull up my big boy pants. I'm just saying, like, when you got a guy who busts his hump as much as this dude does, the fact that he tore both MCL and ACL and PCL, tore all 3 in his knee, came back on 6 months, which is unheard of, then re-injures it, but then still comes back in time for WrestleMania. Like, the dude's dedication and will should be, given credit to, and not just, and I know that was years ago, but it's just like, listen, then he carried the flag and the banner and was your title, was the WWE champion, the guy who was like, I'm going to carry the flag and the banner, and just because like his fiance was more over than him, like all you guys got to shit on him. I don't get it. Like, to me, it's stupid.
It's the thing with wrestling fans, and I'm not crapping on anybody. It's just the way it goes. You know, he brought it up as much on the After the Bell podcast. Go back a year and just how popular he was and how loved he was. And flash forward to Monday night where he comes out and he starts talking about his quote-unquote future, and he talks about how, you know, Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, beat him at Crown Jewel, and I know a lot of you are excited about that. And it got a pop that was akin to The Rock walking into the building. Yes, Seth was at one point the hottest guy and the most popular guy and the darling of the wrestling community. And now it's The Fiend. But at some point, they're going to turn on him too.
It happens when you are successful. People turn on you quick.
And I think the problem was, too, is that he targeted some of those real Smarks fan, like the people that the Smark loves. And to his credit, though, I mean, he was just speaking his heart. And good for him for speaking out, because now in a day and age where everybody's so, scared to step on toes, he was the first one willing to do it. And and the fact that he called out a guy like Will Ospreay just because he wanted to say that he played in the major leagues, good for Seth, because he does.
Yeah.
And I don't care that Will Ospreay's putting on great matches, because he is. And at the end of the day, he's a talented wrestler. But it's not WWE. And I don't give a shit what you guys say. You come at me, I don't care. The WWE is still the main picture, regardless of what you have to say.
Coach wants to smoke.
Bring me the smoke. I'll take the smoke. Yeah, I don't care. Like, the guy came out and he spoke his mind, and you all boo-hooed and cried.
Yeah.
Deal with it. It's facts. Just like if you were in the AFL or the XFL, if you're not in the NFL, you're not in the Major League. Deal with it. Move on.
Coach with the fire take.
It's something that was really bothering me, because I saw the Seth promo, then obviously all the stuff that's coming out with Dave right now. When you got a guy who busts his ass as much as he has the last year, and then you see just the fact that, the weight of the world was on his shoulders when you're the world champion the way that it is. And it's the same thing that happened with Michaels in the 90s.
Well,
it's BS that you act this way.
And you talk about a guy busting his ass. To our knowledge, you think about it, the last time he took any sort of time off was the injury.
For real.
Yeah, no,
it's crazy. Never requests time off, busts his ass, goes to all the house shows, and has earned your respect.
It's the Cena syndrome.
That's fair.
Cena syndrome, Roman syndrome.
Because here's the thing though, because Roman has gotten time off, whether it be for reasons fair or unfair, and obviously I'm being very sensitive to the leukemia situation, because that's a real deal.
Yeah,
that's a scare.
Absolutely.
But still, at the end of the day, he's had time off outside of that Seth has been the guy day in and day out doing the house shows.
No, and I realize that, but what I'm saying is just, he's
I
darling. Everybody loves him, and all of a sudden, nuclear.
But and to his problem though, and I think go back to the Dean Ambrose Jericho podcast, and when you talk about the stuff that they were booked into, Seth still went out there and he knew it was dumb.
Oh yeah,
he knew it was garbage. But you make the best of a shitty situation. That's what he did day in and day out, and that earns your respect. It's not deserved; it's earned.
Exactly. Success breeds a lot of negativity, just because people are mad that they're at a different place, and for a lot of times wrestlers, when you are a fan of them and they blow up and they get to be at a certain level, you kind of lose interest and you just join in the bandwagon and jumping on what else is hot, which is stupid.
So stupid.
It is fully. It's like, be happy for what you're getting, because right now, and we've said this, I know 3FN has said this, I think any podcast you listen to that really, really talks wrestling, this is one of the best times to be a wrestling fan.
I mean, yeah.
and to just go and just completely rip people down about that nonsense, it's just garbage. You're missing the big picture.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we have major players on major networks for the first time in years is tremendous. I mean, it's just like there was a time when people thought WWE was going to fold after they bought WCW.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I know Vince was in his high then, but I mean, there was real issues within, fan bases, and to see it come back up and be mainstream again, it's like, us wrestling fans don't need to live in the dark anymore, and that's great.
No, it's an awesome time to be a fan, and obviously, to sum up the segment, NXT coming to the major leagues and really making a statement is a great move.
Makes Survivor Series a must-watch.
Yeah, that's now a must-watch. I don't understand how anybody could skip it. And give me Brock versus Walter. That's what I want.
My God.
I mean, I'm probably not going to get my War Games matchup between Imperium and Undisputed Era, but it's still going to be good.
Give it to me in NXT. I'm cool with that.
I mean, could you imagine how stiff that would be?
Yes.
I still want Riddle and Brock. I still want to see that even.
I want to see that happen. So hit us up on the hashtag ODPH. Obviously, we gave you a lot of wrestling talk. What is your dream matches now that NXT has now made its invasion to the big shows? Who do you want to see match up? And we definitely want to know.
How do you think Survivor Series is going to be booked even?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all up in the air, but it's going to be much-watch wrestling. That's what we're going to be here for. Hit us up on the social media accounts. You can find them on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
2, 3, 4.
Hey, this is Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling, and you're listening to the ODPH. I didn't mess it up. I thought I would. Right now, back to the guys.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH. Pad, kick us off with that local minute.
Local minute, of course, we're talking Binghamton Devils hockey. Not a good week for our Binghamton Devils last week. They had a game on October 30th against the Utica Comets where they lost by a final score of 3-1. Friday, they had a game against the Americans where they lost by a final score of 4-2. And then Saturday they had a game up in Syracuse against the Crunch where they lost by a final score of 3-2. So looking ahead to the games they got this coming week, they have a game at home Wednesday, November 6th against the Utica Comets, game time 7:05. Friday, they travel back to play the Americans at game time 7:05. And then Saturday, they return home to play the Utica Comets, game time 7:05. More information, binghamtondevils.com.
One more thing on the Devils there. They now on Wednesday nights is kids under, I believe, the age of 12
Yes.
get in free.
Yes.
Every Wednesday home game for the rest of the year. So if you got a big family like I do,
Yes.
take advantage of that.
And the thing I should note with the Friday game, because it is a couple of days before Veterans Day, it is military night with free tickets for active and former military servicemen.
Awesome thing the Devils are doing.
Yes.
So binghamtondevils.com for more information on that. Coach?
Well, the Binghamton Bulldogs were in action on November 2nd with a win over the once at the time undefeated Rock City rival, I guess you can so to speak, of the
They're
Bulldogs.
not Syracuse. They're not a
They're
rival.
not Syracuse, but there's a little animosity from previous games. The Bulldogs won on a score of 122-113. They returned to action on November 9th, so Saturday at 7:05. Again, home game at St. Patrick's. So be on the lookout for that at Binghamton Bulldogs.com or check their Facebook because that's where they're the most active.
Yeah, they're most active on Facebook. And Moni Anderson decided to make his big
that was the
return.
other thing I was going to talk about. Big return with Moni Anderson. Unfortunately, not a size big return, but a necessary scoring piece back for the Bulldogs to have.
Yep, it was just, a big shot in the arm. Dare say it's like a shot of Java, so to speak, to their
I
offense.
mean, listen, we were both sad to see Moni go. I mean, obviously a great opportunity for him to play in Europe, but very, very happy to see his return because he is a three-point sharp shooter.
Yes, it is something the Bulldogs desperately need to if they're going to be anywhere on the court against Syracuse.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, his ability to stretch the floor and consistently hit a three-point shot is huge.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it was a good boost in the arm. Dare I say, for me and Coach, it's like a shot of Java because we need that coffee.
We need that coffee, baby. We need that energy.
We need that energy. So the Bulldogs obviously is a huge addition to the roster, and obviously the countdown to January is on against their true rival, Syracuse.
Let's go.
And dare I say, when tickets go on sale for that game, folks, we can't stress enough, get on it early because it is going to sell out
real fast.
And to round out the local minute, we have to give a shout out to our good friend Johnny Moose.
Hey,
and Team Excite Wrestling.
Ooh.
The Experience Hall kicked off their first show this
Yes.
past weekend. Huge numbers at the gate.
Absolutely. If you go to the Excite Facebook page, you can see a photo that was taken during the show on Saturday night. Standing room only.
I mean, there was body after body after body walking in. It was like a never-ending clown car.
Yes.
No, they said they had 100 walk-ups at the door.
Which is
Holy
insane.
cow.
On top of the tickets they already sold. So it was a must-see event. We were down there. The entire panel was there.
Yeah.
We had members of Floodlands down there. Jimmy Gazik was down there. We had John and Ross from Shout at the Robots down there. There was so many people down there just interacting with Ron Simmons, former WWE superstar, Hall of Famer, was in attendance.
damn.
Dropped one. That was great.
Dropped one. It was a great show.
I was like a kid on Christmas when that happened, just because I'd never had the chance to see that in person, and you see him come out, and the crowd started buzzing, getting
I
real
felt
excited.
the same way, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, he's going to say it.
It was just a perfect show to kick off the Excite Hall.
Yeah, oh,
I
absolutely.
was-
mean, Joey
experience
Ryan
all-
with the surprise
Yeah.
show up. That
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah, Joey's a big fan favorite here in Binghamton, so to see him there, and we also have to give get well wishes to Sean Carr,
Yes.
who
Yes.
who's dealing with some stuff right now. So Sean, get well soon. We can't wait to see you back in the ring.
Yeah, and they said that the first Saturday of every month is going to be a show there.
Yep.
So I mean, that's awesome. Hopefully, Sean, can be there for the second card, because there's a lot of unfinished business there in that title picture.
Yeah, we'll have to get Johnny Moose to come on the show. I know Johnny is a subscriber to the podcast,
Yes.
so John, pull up. We got to talk a little Excite business when you get time. But definitely, congratulations to those guys again. They've been putting in so much work, and to see that success, couldn't be more prouder of them.
Huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. So let's round those bases and take this show home. Pad, what you got to kick us off?
Got to talk a little bit of baseball, because unfortunately for me, I love NFL, don't get me wrong, love NBA, love NHL, but my first love is Major League Baseball. We are officially in the Major League Baseball offseason, because the Washington Nationals were able to pull off the upset and defeat the Houston Astros in Game 7 of the World Series down in Houston, winning the World Series. Steven Strasburg, your MVP of the game. Congratulations to Washington and everything you got going there. And congratulations to Bryce Harper on being, a little psychic, having a little foresight at the beginning of this season, saying they were going to bring a title back to Washington. That being said, we got some interesting candidates announced for the various MLB awards that were announced. I'm not going to run through them all. If you want, you can go to MLB.com/awards to read the full list, but just some interesting ones to read out. For National League Manager of the Year, you have Craig Counsell of the Milwaukee Brewers, Mike Schilt of the St. Louis Cardinals, and then Brian Snedeker of the Atlanta Braves are finalists. Over in the American League, it is Aaron Boone and two other folks, because let's face it, they had to name two other folks. No, I'm kidding.
It's true. True story.
It's Rocco Baldelli of the Minnesota Twins, Aaron Boone of the New York Yankees, and Kevin Cash of the Tampa Bay Rays are finalists for the AL Manager of the Year award. But I'm sorry, Aaron Boone managed that team to the American League Championship Series with like 20 or 30 plus injuries. It's got to be him. Of note, in the National League Rookie of the Year, of course, you have Peter Alonso, former Binghamton Rumble Pony, is a finalist for Rookie of the Year over in the American League. And then for MVP awards in the American League, you have Alex Bregman of the Houston Astros, Mike Trout of the LA Angels, and then Marcus Semien of the Oakland A's. And then over in the National League, you have Cody Bellinger of the Dodgers, Anthony Rendon of the Nationals, and then Christian Yelich of the Brewers are all finalists. The thing I should note, because I know people are going to go, oh, it's Rendon. He had a great performance in the postseason. These awards were all voted on before the end of the season. So postseason does not factor into the voting on this.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of note, just a couple of interesting things with free agency since that's going on. Steven Strasburg has opted out of his contract with the Washington Nationals and will be a free agent. J.D. Martinez is staying in with his contract with the Boston Red Sox, so he will not be opting out to try and seek his best services elsewhere. Got a lot of potential, big moves on the offseason. A lot of names. I won't run through them all. Biggest thing for me has got to be some of the pitchers. Garrett Cole, Steven Strasburg, Zach Wheeler, the Mad Bumgardner, among some of the names in big pitching that are free agents this offseason. So it's going to be a busy offseason.
It's definitely going to be a busy offseason. Strasburg leaving Washington. It does make sense. I mean, obviously his stock has never been higher.
Yeah, sure. Only 31 years old.
Yeah, so definitely has got a lot of good arms, seasons left with that arm. Martinez staying with Boston makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, especially 3 years left on the deal, something like $60-some-odd million. He's not going to get that money elsewhere. I mean, Texas has got some money. I think I read someplace else the White Sox have some money, but just it's a short place, and he knows he's going to contend in Boston.
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense there. Didi Gregorius is opting out for the Yankees, or he didn't get resigned.
They didn't give him a qualifying offer, so. But the way it works is, so he could sign someplace else. But if he signs someplace else, the Yankees will receive a draft pick.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of moves happening for baseball. So we'll definitely be talking about that moving forward. But congrats to the Nats.
Yeah.
Pulling off the major upset. I mean, the first time in World Series history that the away team won every game and the home team lost every game. Wild. Absolutely wild. Coach, what you got?
College basketball's back. Duke kicks off tonight against Kansas in the college kickoff in Madison Square Garden. Ooh. That is airing right now, actually, on ESPN as we speak. College basketball, obviously a fun time, only leading up to March Madness. Ken, I'm not so sure about these Duke Blue Devils this year. I'm a little apprehensive about this roster.
In Coach K, we trust.
Yeah,
This is true.
I mean, you know, with Duke, you know what you're going to get. I mean, obviously coming off last year's MVP team, or NBA team, rather, you're going to have a downgrade. But is it a drastic drop-off?
No, it's interesting because last year was such an elite class of literally the number 1, 2, and 5 player in the nation all coming, and then Trey Jones rounding it out with, I believe he was a number 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you have 4 of the top 10 players in the nation all coming in at one time, which is unheard of since Kentucky's done it with the John Wall class. So it's very interesting to see what this class is going to be, because it's actually more 4-star recruits than it is top 5 recruits.
Yeah.
So Coach K is going to actually have to coach him up a little bit this year.
So he can work with some magic, though.
Yeah, but it's always a fun time seeing college basketball. Like I get into a little more than the NBA, at least
for sure.
At least before Christmas.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm being a Knicks fan. Greg Anthony's son, Cole Anthony, unfortunately spurned Notre Dame, which I was very upset about because I couldn't believe that he had left Notre Dame in his top 3 and thought there was some outside chance that they were going to come in and pull out his recruitment, but he ultimately ended up in North Carolina. So I'm actually going to catch a lot of North Carolina games because I love Cole Anthony. Think he's a great talent. I loved his dad as a Knick. And I watched a lot of Cole Anthony when he was at Oak Hill last year. So seeing him in North Carolina blue is going to hurt to watch some of those games, but I'm going to be cheering for him nonetheless.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun season to watch. I mean, I'm actually really intrigued to see what Michigan State does.
Yeah, they're going to be a very, very good team.
They're going to be a really good team. So, obviously, it kicks off tonight. ESPN's got the game on, Kansas and Duke.
Yep.
So, check your local listings wherever you watch college basketball because it's kicking in. Hit us up on hashtag ODPH. Who is your predictions to bring home the chip in March when we all go dancing?
Now, if I can request one thing of you this year, I believe that I heard that you were planning on doing this year. I just hope it's true. I hope all the Duke, North Carolina games are Saturday.
Yeah.
Please. I cannot take a Wednesday at 9 o'clock. That doesn't end up tipping off till like 9:45.
Yeah.
It's got to be so fucking frustrating.
Can we just make flex schedule for
basketball?
basketball?
I mean, I have a life. I have to be up in the morning. I cannot wait for, a scheduled 9:05 tip-off that doesn't end up tipping off until 9:35.
Yeah.
That is just too, and then I end up staying up till halftime. My wife's always like, Sean, are you going to go to bed here? And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to watch till halftime. And then midway through the second half, I'm going to go to bed, midway through the second half. And then I end up just finishing the game at 12 o'clock. And then I'm a zombie the next day.
Yeah. We need to maybe tweet that out. We need flex schedule.
I did last year. I tweeted at ESPN. It's ridiculous that 2 East Coast teams that nobody gives a flying F about on the West Coast because they're all too busy watching UCLA and USC even care to watch Duke and North Carolina.
Yeah, fully agree with that. So we'll see what happens this year, but it's going to be a fun season to watch nevertheless. And like I said, hashtag ODPH, who do you think is bringing home the chip in March?
So early to make that call.
But you know what we did last week? The way too early NBA predictions. Let's do the way too early college basketball ones.
Duke.
Yes. I'll take Duke any day of the week, so it doesn't matter for me. Pat, you got any thoughts on this?
Binghamton University, going long shot.
They're playing Cornell tonight.
Hey.
10-point dogs.
One shining moment.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance.
There's a chance on paper, folks. Let's see what happens. So let's close out rounding the bases. Now, Saturday night was UFC 244.
Yes.
There was another fight going on.
Had a bit of a debacle itself.
Which was kind of wild because the fight between Canelo Alvarez, who was fighting at light heavyweight.
Yep.
So stepping up from his usual middleweight grounds to fight at light heavyweight against Sergey Kovalev. They actually postponed the start of their boxing card.
And if I'm not mistaken, they announced this the day before.
Yeah, no, I think it was the day. No, I thought it was the day of. I saw a tweet that DAZN or DAZN was like, we're going to hold off the boxing match until the UFC card's over.
Yeah.
Maybe I was hearing the rumor a couple days before, but yeah, you were right. They actually postponed the start behind UFC 244, which is wild to me.
Right, and so basically what they did is they ran through their preliminary card, they ran through their main card up to the main event, the fight that everyone paid whatever it is to get on DAZN or whatever pay-per-view subscriber you go through, paid the ungodly amount of money they probably paid to get into the venue, and then they just sat there for, I want to say it was at least an hour and a half.
It was an hour and a half almost.
They sat through an hour and a half and then they had to sit through the national anthems and everything else with the pomp and circumstance before the fight, before they actually started the fight.
That's knowing your lane.
Yeah,
That's knowing your place and the pecking order.
I don't care how the boxing match went that night. Boxing itself took an L that night.
Oh, boxing took an L. Like, if you have this debate about what's a bigger sport, boxing or MMA, there is your case. Case closed. But to sum up what actually happened, because this was kind of wild for me, because I think I watched boxing out of everybody from the panel a lot more.
I didn't even know boxing was still a thing.
Yeah. Canelo Alvarez is now a 4-division boxing champion.
The champ.
Yeah.
The champ.
That's a mouthful.
Which is crazy because he beat Kovalev in the 11th round with a combo off the ropes, and just you saw Kovalev fall. So to see Canelo do this is absolutely nuts.
I mean, when you have 50 million belts, winning 4, is that really great?
Well,
just make them all into one belt. Make it like 24 karat gold.
But just the fact that, like I said, he usually fights a middleweight, which is like
Super
around
belt.
168, 170. You know, like I forget the exact pound.
Oh, so it was a different weight class.
205.
All right. That's tremendous.
205.
Yeah.
Which is mind-blowing to me. So the fact that he won that, and he's now the WBO light heavyweight champion, which is absolutely insane. This was a big night for boxing, but like I said, they also took the L to the MMA world by postponing the fight from happening when it did. And I'm sorry, and still, in my opinion, Triple G won the first 2 fights. We don't need a trilogy fight.
You know, I don't think it's so much taking an L as just knowing your place.
Well, you have to wonder.
The fans took an L because you got to feel dumb as
fan-
hell
the
waiting
fa-
there an hour and a half.
The fans took an L, and I'm always curious how much money they had to give back in refunds for angry people because they went so they didn't just delay the main event until after the UFC fight went, but then also they started showing said UFC fight in the arena in Vegas where they were having this thing with sound on.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But to see him now a 4-division champion, you know, it's just wild. And like I said, for boxing, it's a good thing. I mean, for Canelo, because especially Masvidal was calling him out, and he said he wants to box him now too.
Right.
Which I'm going to tell Masvidal, no, I respect your punching ability. I would just say dominate in the MMA world because that's where you will just absolutely tear people apart. Canelo is Canelo, and like we've seen this where a boxer will fight an MMA fighter. It's not to say they won't hang, but for Canelo, obviously he's going with a Hall of Fame career. To kind of do a mix and match fight like that, I just don't really see it. And like I said, it's a big night for him, and kudos to him. And like I said, the Triple G fight, we don't need to see happen. I'm sorry, Triple G won both. Enough said. So let's go into those locks and leaps, shall we? So I will kick us off.
Okay.
I am taking the Saints.
I love that he keeps going first now.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm not tying anybody. I'm taking the Saints because who are they facing?
The Atlanta Falcons.
Exactly.
That's some low-hanging fruit there.
Well, the one thing about the takeaway from this week is there is a lot of easy favorites to pick.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter where you want to go in the league. But for this, like I said, who is Atlanta exactly?
What is Atlanta?
Yeah.
Unless it's the Hawks right now, there's nothing happening in Atlanta.
John Collins just got suspended today, so that's not helping anything.
Yeah,
Very true.
It's definitely not helping. And just to see where they're going, like I said, the Saints should win this outright. This shouldn't even be that close. For my leap, though, I am actually going to say the 49ers will no longer be undefeated.
Ooh.
I am taking Seattle on the road.
Oh.
Okay.
Outright win, or are you going to take the points?
Outright win.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh.
Roll those dice, baby. I am rolling on the Russell Wilson bandwagon. I think this is going to be a very close game.
Yeah.
But I think Seattle wins this one. I'll in fact even say 21-17.
Okay.
I'll give you your points on that. So let's roll those dice. Who else is going? Pad?
Sure. Well, my lock is the same as yours because let's face it, Drew Brees coming off a bye week against the Atlanta Falcons, who, like you said, we don't know who the heck's going to show up for Atlanta and who's going to play. It's really suspect at this point. For my leap, I'm going to take the Detroit Lions to beat the Chicago Bears. Currently, Chicago is favored by 2.5 points. I think, Chicago, another one, we don't know what in God's name we're going to get with them. And I think
we know what we're going to get. Great defense, god-awful offense.
And a god-awful kicking game. But Detroit, I think they'll be able to pull it out.
I don't doubt that at all. Coach? So I'm looking for the Chargers on here.
I'm not opting for that low-hanging fruit. I'm saying nay. I want to reach for my food, and I want to hunt for it.
Okay.
And I am taking for my leap Nobody circles those wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Oh.
Yeah, you pulled it off last week.
Against I'm riding the hot hand against Cleveland at Cleveland. They are a dumpster fire. They are Freddie Kitchens is a worse head coach than Pat Schumer and McAdoo.
And that's
He's
saying
literally
something.
If Ben McAdoo and Pat Schumer had a kid, it would be Freddie Kitchens. It's that bad in Cleveland right now. You can't get Odell Beckham the ball. You can't get Jarvis Landry the ball. You got Baker Mayfield in shambles. This guy doesn't know what kind of mustache he wants to have. You got guys having to change cleats at halftime because they're
Mustache gate.
Yeah, you got guys changing cleats at the middle of the games because they can't be wearing those. You got 3 turnovers in 3 straight drives against the Patriots. My God. I mean, how easy is 2.5-point dogs to Cleveland? Thank you very much.
I'm hoping you're right. I really am.
I'm riding the hot hand. The Bills have not failed me yet, so let's continue that journey.
Absolutely.
And then
It's kind of like saying Aqib Talib is undefeated in Miami.
right, exactly. And then
He's not seeing ghosts, so it helps.
no, he's not. And then for my lock, there was no quarterback worse playing against 500 teams or better than 500 teams than Kirk Cousins,
Okay.
who again lost to a team above 500 last week against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I am taking the Dallas Cowboys.
This has just got to hurt your soul.
No, it was painful to say, but they are 3-point favorites. Sunday Night Football in Dallas.
Ooh.
Let's go. Vikings will see. Now, I'm not saying like Dallas is going to win the game as much as I'm saying Minnesota will lose the game because of Kirk Cousins' ineptitude against teams that are above 500.
Phrasing.
So thank you, Kirk Cousins, for losing this game for me.
Well, so you like that.
I like that. I like it.
Sound guy galore, JR. I can't wait to get your response on this. And this proves that the Giants have officially broke Coach Duffy if he's taken Dallas.
I mean, listen, I'm so far low in the standings right now. I'm going for desperation. I think Dallas is going to cover this game, so I'm trying to get the bonus points. It's all strategy here, baby.
Oh, you gotta pull it out right, because I tell you, Locks and Leaps is getting really interesting. I mean, Rich has got a lead, but Pat is catching up.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm tied with him.
I say if you're not, you guys are like if not one behind, and like I said, Andy's coming along too.
See, I'm going strategy here by games that I know will cover.
See,
101 right now, guys. A sharp in here.
we don't
You
call.
still got to come for the belt.
We don't call him coach for nothing, folks. That's the easiest way to put it.
So I need a Paul Heyman promo right now. I'm reigning, defending, undisputed.
We'll have to see. Whoever wins Locks and Leaves will have to come on here and give a victory speech. We'll do that.
Yeah,
this year.
give him the honor of a speech. Yeah,
It'll be part of the incentive to win. The music you heard on this episode is that of Fair City Fire. You can find them on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Check under the music section. It'll take you right to their webpage. It'll take you to their Instagram, their Twitter, everything you need to hear about Fair City Fire, one of the best bands out of Austin, Texas. You also hear about Shout at the Robots, Floodlands, Honker, Walking Distance, and so much more. On OchoDuroParlayHour.com, you can also check out Hashtag 607 Podcast. You can hear about all the things going on with 8122 Productions. Three Fat Nerds just started a Patreon, so you definitely want to go check that out. You can find out about Horror Zone 607. You can find out about photography by Mike Blakesley, our good buddy traveling down to New York City this week. In fact, we got to put up a link to ExciteWrestling.com so you can find out about all the monthly shows going on. I think we'll have to add that when Johnny Moose comes on the show. And you can also find out about Parlay Points on OchoDuroParlayHour.com, the complimentary blog section to the podcast, so we're interacting in between the week. So much going on. ODPH, you need to be subscribing to that website as well as the podcast itself, because that's all we got for this week. So for your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
I be better than Pat Schumer in your week, people.
He's making me choke up here, folks.
I don't know what else to say. I'm lost for words. Good night and good luck.
For Padawan J,
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast. We'll see you next time.